web of lies, betrayal, and murder plots that would transform Emma from a trusting wife into a woman fighting for her life and her unborn child. The question isn't just who wanted to destroy her family, it's how far they were willing to go to eliminate her permanently. This is Emma's story, a story of survival, strength, and the shocking discovery that sometimes the greatest danger comes from those we love most. The wine glass shattered against the hardwood floor as Emma Claire Davidson dropped her keys and purse. Her 7-month pregnant belly pressed against the doorframe as she stared into what used to be her perfect nursery. The pale yellow rocking chair lay on its side like a wounded bird. The crib Derek had spent 3 weekends assembling was tilted at an impossible angle, one rail completely broken. Tiny clothes that she had folded with such care were scattered across the room like fallen snow after a storm. "No, no, no, no." The words came out as barely a whisper. Emma's hands instinctively moved to her belly as the baby kicked, as if sensing her distress. The mobile Derek's mother had given them hung broken. The little elephants and giraffes twisted on their strings. The sound of tires on gravel made her heart race. Derek was home. Emma, what's wrong? I heard you scream from the driveway." Derek's voice carried up the stairs, followed by his heavy footsteps. Emma couldn't move. She stood frozen in the doorway, one hand on the frame, one hand protecting her unborn daughter. "Jesus Christ!" Derek appeared beside her, his face going pale. "What the hell happened here?" "I don't know." Emma's voice cracked. "I came home from the baby shower and found it like this." Derek moved past her into the room, careful not to step on the scattered clothes. He picked up a tiny pink onesie that read, "Daddy's Girl," and held it like it might break. "Did you call the police?" Emma shook her head. She felt like she was underwater, everything moving too slowly. "I just got here. I haven't done anything yet." Derek pulled out his phone. 911, yes. We need to report a break-in." While Derek gave their address to the dispatcher, Emma finally stepped into the room. The changing table had been overturned, diapers spilling out of packages like confetti. The bookshelf Derek had mounted to the wall hung at a crazy angle, children's books scattered beneath it. But what made her stomach clench was that nothing seemed to be missing. This wasn't a robbery. This was destruction for the sake of destruction. 20 minutes later, 2 police officers stood in the nursery taking photographs. The older one, Officer Martinez, had kind eyes and spoke in gentle tones. The younger one kept glancing at Emma's belly with concern. "Ma'am, I know this is difficult, but can you think of anyone who might want to do this? Any disputes with neighbors? Problems at work?" Emma shook her head. "Everyone was so excited about the baby. I can't imagine who would do something like this." The younger officer looked up from his notepad. "Wait, Emma Parker." Emma turned, studying his face. Sandy brown hair, blue eyes, a scar on his chin she remembered from when he fell off his bike in 8th grade. "Jake Morrison." "Oh my God, Jake Morrison from Westfield High. It's Officer Morrison now, but yeah." He smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen all day. "We had chemistry together. Mr. Patterson's class, 3rd period. Emma Davidson now," she said, indicating Derek with a slight nod. "But yes, I remember. You always sat in the back row." Jake's expression grew serious again as he looked around the destroyed nursery. "I'm so sorry this happened to you. We're going to find out who did this." There was something in his voice, a certainty that made Emma feel safer than she had since walking through that door. "Did you notice anything unusual when you came home?" Jake asked. "Cars you didn't recognize? Anyone hanging around the neighborhood?" "No, nothing." The street was quiet. It always is on Sunday afternoons. Derek moved closer to Emma, his hand finding the small of her back. "Our security system wasn't armed. Emma was only gone for 3 hours." "Do you have cameras?" Officer Martinez asked. "Just the doorbell camera," Derek replied. "I can get you the footage." Jake made a note. "We'll need to see that. Also, I'll need a list of everyone who has keys to your house." Emma and Derek exchanged glances. "Just us and my mother," Emma said, "and the cleaning lady, but she was with me at the baby shower." "We'll need her information anyway, just to be thorough," Jake said gently. As the officers finished their report, Jake handed Emma his card. "My direct number's on there. If you think of anything, Or if anything else happens, call me immediately. Emma studied the card. Officer J. Morrison, followed by a phone number. Thank you, Jake. I mean, Officer Morrison. Jake is fine. We go way back. After the police left, Derek helped Emma clean up the nursery. They worked in silence, folding tiny clothes and righting furniture. The crib would need to be replaced, and the changing table had a deep scratch across the top. I don't understand why someone would do this, Emma said as she carefully placed a stuffed lamb back on the shelf. What kind of person destroys a baby's room? Derek's jaw was tight as he swept up pieces of the broken mobile. I don't know, but I'm going to make sure it never happens again. Tomorrow I'm calling a security company. That night, Emma lay in bed listening to every sound. The house settling, the refrigerator humming, the heater clicking on. Derek's breathing was deep and even beside her. But Emma couldn't sleep. Every shadow seemed wrong. Every creak might be someone coming back. She got up 3 times to check the locks. Front door. Lock. Unlock to make sure it really locked. Lock again. Back door. Same routine. Sliding door to the patio. Lock. Unlock. Lock. The 3rd time she checked, Derek's voice came from the darkness of their bedroom. Emma, you okay? Just checking the locks. You checked them 20 minutes ago. I know. I just want to be sure. She heard him sigh, but he didn't say anything else. Emma stood at the bedroom window, looking out at their quiet street. Everything looked normal, peaceful, even. But something had changed today. Someone had been in their home, in their baby's room, with enough rage or hatred to destroy everything they'd prepared with such love. Emma placed both hands on her belly and whispered to her daughter, I won't let anyone hurt you. I promise. The baby kicked once, as if she heard. Jake Morrison called the next morning while Emma was staring at her untouched coffee, and Derek was getting ready for work. Mrs. Davidson, I wanted to follow up on yesterday. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Emma glanced at Derek, who was adjusting his tie in the hallway mirror. Of course. Did you find something? I'd prefer to discuss it in person. Would it be possible for me to stop by this morning? Derek's leaving for work in 10 minutes. Would that be okay? Actually, that works perfectly. I'll be there in 15. Derek kissed her goodbye, his lips lingering on her forehead. You sure you're okay being alone? Jake's coming over to update me on the case. I'll be fine. Jake. Officer Morrison, the one from high school. Derek's expression shifted slightly. Right. Well, call me if you need anything. After Derek left, Emma found herself straightening cushions and wiping down counters that were already clean. When Jake knocked, she'd been standing by the window for 5 minutes, watching for his patrol car. Coffee, she offered as she let him in. That would be great, thanks. Jake looked different in daylight, older but in a good way. The teenage awkwardness was gone, replaced by a quiet confidence that made Emma feel safe. I reviewed the security footage from your doorbell camera, he said, settling into the kitchen chair Derek had vacated. And I have some concerns. Emma's hand paused over the coffee pot. What kind of concerns? This wasn't a random break-in. Emma, whoever did this knew your house, knew your routine, and knew exactly what they wanted to destroy. The words hit her like cold water. What do you mean? Jake pulled out a small notebook. The intruder went straight to the nursery. Didn't touch your bedroom, your office, the living room. Nothing valuable was taken. No electronics, no jewelry, no cash. They spent all their time in that one room. Emma sank into the chair across from him. So this was personal? It looks that way, and there's something else. The security footage shows someone approaching your front door, but they disappear from view for about 30 seconds. Then they reappear and leave. What does that mean? It means they knew where your camera blind spot was. And more importantly, they had a key. Emma's coffee cup clattered against the saucer. That's impossible. Only Derek and I have keys. And my mother. But she would never. I'm not suggesting your mother did this, but someone had access to your key. Maybe a copy was made. Maybe someone borrowed yours and returned it without you noticing. Emma's mind raced. The cleaning service has a key. Maria Santos, I spoke with her this morning. She was at your baby shower from noon until 4:30. 12 witnesses confirmed it. Then I don't understand. Jake leaned forward, his voice gentle. Emma, I need to ask you some difficult questions. Has Derek been acting differently lately? Any changes in his routine, his mood? Emma felt a flash of irritation. Derek didn't do this. He was just as shocked as I was. I'm not suggesting he did. But sometimes people close to us know things we don't realize they know. Emma stood up and walked to the window, her hands wrapped around her coffee mug. Outside, Mrs. Patterson from across the street was walking her little dog. Everything looked so normal. Derek's been stressed about work lately. The real estate market is tough right now, but that doesn't mean... Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. Derek's name appeared on the screen. Hi, honey. Hey, just checking on you. How's it going with the officer? Fine, he's just asking some follow-up questions. Good, listen, I might be late tonight. We have a client dinner that could run long. Emma glanced at Jake, who was politely studying his notebook. Okay, be careful. Always am. Love you. Love you too. After she hung up, Jake looked up. Client dinner on a Monday night. Derek's a real estate developer. He has to schmooze clients sometimes. Jake made a note. How often does he work late? I don't know. More often lately, I guess. Why? Just trying to get a complete picture of your routines. Someone knew you'd be gone yesterday afternoon. They knew Derek wouldn't be home. They planned this carefully. Emma's pregnancy hormones were making her emotional, and she felt tears threatening. This is insane. Why would someone want to hurt our baby? Hey, Jake's voice was soft. That's not going to happen. I'm going to figure this out. There was something in his tone that reminded Emma of high school Jake, the boy who had stood up to bullies and always kept his promises. Do you really think you can find out who did this? I know I can, but I need you to help me. If you notice anything unusual, anything at all, I want you to call me, not the general police number. Call me directly. Emma nodded, feeling calmer than she had since yesterday. After Jake left, Emma tried to work on her marketing reports, but her mind kept wandering. She found herself thinking about Derek's late nights, his client dinners, the way he'd been checking his phone constantly lately. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hope you're feeling better after yesterday. Let me know if you need anything. Jake. Emma smiled and saved his number in her contacts. For the first time since the break-in, she felt like she wasn't completely alone. That afternoon, while she was trying to nap, Emma's phone rang, Derek's assistant. Mrs. Davidson, this is Vanessa from Derek's office. He asked me to call and check on you. That's very thoughtful. Thank you. I'm doing okay. I was so sorry to hear about the break-in. Derek was really shaken up when he came in this morning. Emma didn't remember telling Derek about discussing the break-in with his assistant, but she supposed it made sense that he'd mention it. Thank you, Vanessa. That means a lot. Of course. And please, if you need anything while Derek's at his dinner tonight, don't hesitate to call. I know how scary it must be to be alone in the house right now. After hanging up, Emma felt a nagging sensation she couldn't quite identify. Something about the conversation felt off, but she couldn't put her finger on what. She walked through the house, double-checking locks and windows. In the nursery, they'd managed to clean up most of the damage, but the broken crib and scratched changing table were constant reminders of yesterday's violation. Emma placed her hand on her belly and felt the baby's strong kick. I'm not paranoid, she said aloud. Something is very wrong here. The words felt true as soon as she said them, and for the first time, Emma trusted her instincts completely. Tuesday morning brought rain that matched Emma's mood. She'd barely slept, jolting awake at every sound, the coffee maker's gurgle, the newspaper hitting the driveway. Derek's phone buzzing with what he claimed was a work emergency at 6:30 in the morning. I have to go in early, Derek said, already dressed and reaching for his keys. The Morrison project is falling apart. Emma almost asked if that was the same Morrison as Officer Jake Morrison, but Derek was already kissing her forehead and heading for the garage. Will you be late again tonight? Probably. Sorry, babe. This deal is worth $2 million to the company. After Derek left, Emma called her best friend Rebecca Walsh. They'd known each other since nursing school, and Becca had the rare ability to tell Emma the truth even when it hurt. Want to come over for lunch? Emma asked. I need to talk to someone who isn't a police officer or my husband. Of course, I'll bring soup from that place you like. Becca arrived at noon with Thai coconut soup and concerned eyes. She was the kind of friend who noticed when Emma had been crying before Emma realized it herself. Okay, spill, Becca said as they settled in the living room. And don't tell me you're fine, because I can see that you're not. Emma told her everything. The break-in, Jake Morrison, Derek's strange behavior, the late nights, the constant phone calls. Becca listened without interrupting, her expression growing more serious with each detail. Emma, I have to tell you something, and you're not going to like it. What? I've never trusted Derek. Not completely. Emma's soup spoon stopped halfway to her mouth. What do you mean, honey? I've been biting my tongue for years. There have always been things that didn't add up. The way he checks his phone when he thinks no one's looking. The business trips that seem to change locations at the last minute. The way he dismisses your feelings whenever you question him. Derek loves me. He's excited about the baby. I'm sure he does love you, but love doesn't always mean faithfulness. Emma set down her soup bowl. You think he's having an affair? I think you should trust your instincts. You said yourself that something feels wrong. After Becca left, Emma couldn't shake the conversation. She found herself looking around the house with new eyes, searching for evidence of something she didn't want to find. Derek's home office was usually off limits, but Emma told herself she was just looking for the warranty information for the broken crib. She needed it for the insurance claim. The desk drawers were locked, which was odd. Derek had never locked them before. But the filing cabinet was open, and as Emma searched for baby-related receipts, she found something that made her stomach drop. Credit card statements for an account she didn't know existed. Charges at restaurants she'd never been to. A jewelry store purchase for $800 on Valentine's Day. Emma remembered that day clearly because Derek had given her a simple card and claimed he was too busy with work for a proper celebration. Her hands shaking, Emma photographed the statements with her phone. There were dozens of charges she couldn't explain. Expensive dinners for two, hotel rooms, lingerie stores. The sound of the garage door opening made Emma's heart race. She quickly put everything back and closed the filing cabinet, but not before noticing one more thing that made her blood run cold. A rental agreement for an apartment across town. An apartment Derek was paying for that she'd never heard of. Emma, I'm home. Derek's voice carried through the house as Emma hurried to the living room, trying to look casual. You're home early, she said, hoping her voice sounded normal. Meeting got canceled. Derek kissed her cheek, and Emma caught a scent that wasn't his usual cologne, something floral and feminine. How was your day? Fine. Becca came over for lunch. That's nice. What did you two talk about? Emma looked at her husband's face, searching for any sign of guilt or deception. He looked tired but otherwise normal, concerned about her, loving. Just baby stuff mostly. That evening, Derek's phone rang during dinner. He glanced at the screen and declined the call. Work, Emma asked. Yeah, Vanessa. Probably about the Morrison project. I'll call her back later. The phone rang again 5 minutes later. Again. Derek declined it. Maybe you should answer. It might be important. Derek's jaw tightened slightly. It can wait. I'm having dinner with my pregnant wife. But Emma noticed that he kept glancing at his phone throughout the meal. That night, after Derek fell asleep, Emma's mind raced through everything she'd discovered. The secret credit card, the apartment, the charges for expensive dinners and jewelry she'd never received. She thought about Jake's questions, about someone knowing their routine, having access to their house. Emma remembered Derek's Valentine's Day business trip, the weekend he'd claimed to have food poisoning but wouldn't let her take care of him. The time she'd found women's earrings in his car and he'd explained that a client must have dropped them. All the little things that hadn't made sense suddenly formed a picture she didn't want to see. Emma got up and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. Mrs. Patterson's house was dark. The streetlights cast long shadows between the trees. Her reflection in the window looked like a stranger. Pale, tired, 7 months pregnant, and married to a man who might be living a double life. Emma placed both hands on her belly and felt the baby move. What am I supposed to do? She whispered. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Jake. How are you doing? Any unusual activity today? Emma started to type, everything's fine, but stopped. Instead, she wrote, "Can we meet tomorrow? I have some things to tell you." Jake's response came immediately. "Of course. 10 a.m. at the coffee shop on Main Street." "Thank you," Emma typed back. As she climbed back into bed, Derek stirred and reached for her in his sleep, his arm wrapped around her waist, and he murmured something she couldn't understand. For a moment, Emma let herself remember why she'd fallen in love with him. His laugh, the way he'd proposed on the beach where they'd had their first date, how excited he'd been when they'd seen their daughter on the ultrasound. But lying there in the dark, surrounded by secrets and unanswered questions, Emma realized that the man beside her might be a stranger. And if Derek was having an affair, if he was living some secret life she knew nothing about, then everything she'd believed about their marriage was a lie. The baby kicked hard, as if sensing her mother's distress. "I know, sweetheart," Emma whispered. "I'm scared too." The Main Street coffee shop was nearly empty at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. Emma chose a corner table where she could see the door and waited for Jake with nervous energy that made the baby restless. When Jake arrived, he looked more like a detective than a patrol officer. Dark jeans, button-down shirt, and an intensity in his eyes that made Emma feel both safe and worried. "Thank you for meeting me," Emma said as he sat down across from her. "Of course. What's going on?" Emma pulled out her phone and showed Jake the photographs of Derek's credit card statements and rental agreement. Jake studied the images carefully, his expression growing darker with each one. "Emma, this is exactly what I was afraid of. You knew Derek was having an affair. I suspected someone close to you was involved in the break-in. Affairs create complications, secrets, people who know things they shouldn't know." Emma felt tears threatening. "So you think Derek's girlfriend broke into our house? It's possible. Or Derek told her things about your routine without realizing she'd use the information." Jake leaned forward, his voice gentle. "I need to tell you something about the investigation. We traced the license plate from your security footage. You found the car. It was a rental, paid for in cash with a fake ID, but the person who rented it made one mistake." Emma's heart was racing. "What mistake?" "She used her real credit card for the deposit. The name on the card was V. Torres." Emma's world tilted. "Vanessa Torres, Derek's assistant. You know her. She's called the house several times. She knew about the break-in. She called to check on me, said Derek had told her about it." Jake was already pulling out his phone. "What does she look like?" "I've never met her in person. Derek hired her about 6 months ago. Said she was very efficient." "Emma, I need you to listen carefully. If Vanessa Torres was involved in breaking into your house, then this situation is more dangerous than we thought." Emma's hands moved instinctively to her belly. "What do you mean, dangerous?" "Think about it. Someone doesn't destroy a nursery as a warning. They do it to send a message. And if Derek's assistant has access to your house, your schedules, your personal information—" Emma finished the thought. "She could come back. I'm going to put a surveillance team on your house starting tonight, and I need you to promise me you won't confront Derek about any of this until we know more." "Why not?" "Because if Derek doesn't know what Vanessa is capable of, confronting him could put you in more danger." That afternoon, while Derek was at work, Jake called with an update that made Emma's blood run cold. "We've been watching Vanessa Torres. She met with someone this morning at a downtown parking garage. We couldn't get close enough to hear the conversation, but we got pictures. Pictures of what? Vanessa handing an envelope to a man we've been tracking as part of an ongoing investigation into intimidation and assault for hire." Emma sank onto the couch. "She hired someone to hurt me." "We don't know that for certain yet, but Emma, this man she met with is dangerous. He's been arrested twice for battery, once for home invasion." Oh God, Jake. She's planning something else. Isn't she? We're going to stop her before that happens. But I need you to act completely normal when Derek comes home. Can you do that?" "I don't know. I don't know if I can pretend everything's fine." "You have to. For your safety and the baby's safety." When Derek came home that evening, Emma was making dinner and trying to act normal. But every time she looked at him, she wondered how long he'd been lying to her. "Good day," Derek asked, kissing her cheek. "Fine. Quiet." Derek's phone buzzed with a text. He glanced at it and smiled slightly before putting the phone away. "Who was that?" "Vanessa. Just confirming tomorrow's client meeting." Emma's stomach clenched. She seems very dedicated. She's great, really organized. I don't know how I managed without her. The casual way Derek talked about Vanessa made Emma feel sick. This woman who had broken into their home, who was planning God knew what else. And Derek spoke about her like she was just a helpful employee. That night, Emma lay in bed listening to Derek's breathing and trying to process everything Jake had told her. The man Vanessa had met with was dangerous, professional, someone you hired when you wanted to hurt people. But why, if Vanessa was having an affair with Derek? Why target Emma? Why not just try to break up the marriage through normal means? Emma's hands moved to her belly, and suddenly she understood. The baby. Vanessa wasn't just trying to steal Derek. She was trying to eliminate the one thing that permanently tied Derek to Emma, their daughter. The thought was so horrifying that Emma had to get up and pace the bedroom. She stood at the window, looking out at the street where Jake had said surveillance officers were watching. She couldn't see them, but knowing they were there made her feel slightly safer. Derek stirred in bed. Emma, you okay? Just restless. The baby's been kicking. Come back to bed. You need your sleep. Emma climbed back into bed, but sleep was impossible. She lay there pretending to breathe deeply while Derek's arm circled her waist. The man she'd married, the father of her child, was sleeping peacefully beside her while his mistress planned their destruction. Emma closed her eyes and made a silent promise to her daughter. I won't let her hurt us, whatever it takes. I won't let her win. The baby kicked once, strong and determined, as if she agreed. Emma had never been good at acting, but Thursday morning she gave the performance of her life. She made Derek breakfast, kissed him goodbye, and asked him to pick up more prenatal vitamins on his way home. Of course, babe. Anything else you need? Just you, home safe. The words felt like glass in her throat, but Derek smiled and squeezed her hand. Love you. Love you too. After Derek left, Emma called Jake. I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend everything's normal when his mistress is planning to hurt our baby. I know it's hard, but we're close to having enough evidence to arrest her. What if close isn't good enough? What if she does something today? She won't. We're watching her every move. And Emma, there's something else. We found out more about the man she met with yesterday. Emma's heart rate spiked. What about him? His name is Marcus Webb. He's what we call a freelance intimidator. People hire him to scare other people. Usually it's just threats, property damage, that kind of thing. Usually. Emma, I need you to hear this. Marcus Webb is actually Officer Marcus Webb. He's been working undercover for 6 months, infiltrating a network of people who provide these services. Emma felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. The man she hired is a police officer, an undercover police officer. He's been recording every conversation, every transaction. We have Vanessa on tape paying him $2,000 to scare the pregnant bitch into losing the baby. Emma sank into a chair. She wanted me to miscarry. Yes. And when that didn't work, she was planning escalation. What kind of escalation? Jake's voice was gentle but firm. She told Marcus that if scaring you didn't work, she wanted him to arrange an accident that would eliminate you permanently. Emma's vision went gray around the edges. She wants me dead. She wanted you dead. Past tense. Because we're going to arrest her today. Today, this afternoon, Marcus is meeting her again to discuss the details of the accident. We'll have everything on tape, and then we'll take her down. What about Derek? Does he know what she's planning? That's what we need to find out. Emma, I know this is going to be difficult, but I need you to consider the possibility that Derek is involved. Derek wouldn't hurt me. He wouldn't hurt our baby. I hope you're right, but Emma, affairs make people do things they never thought they were capable of. That afternoon, Emma paced her living room like a caged animal. Every minute felt like an hour. Jake had promised to call as soon as Vanessa was arrested, but her phone remained silent. At 4:30, Derek called. Hey, babe, how are you feeling? Tired. When will you be home? Actually, I need to talk to you about that. Vanessa and I have to work late tonight. This Morrison deal is more complicated than we thought. Emma's blood turned to ice. If Vanessa was supposed to be meeting with the undercover officer, why was Derek saying they were working together? Derek, are you sure Vanessa is at the office with you right now? Of course she is. Why would you ask that? Can I talk to her? There was a pause. She's in a meeting. Is everything okay? You sound strange. Emma realized she had to make a choice. Keep pretending, or force the truth into the open. Derek, I need you to come home. Right now. Emma, I can't. This deal is worth millions to the company. Derek. Emma's voice was stronger than she'd ever heard it. I know about the secret credit card. I know about the apartment you're renting. I know about Vanessa. The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long that Emma thought Derek had hung up. Emma, just come home, please. We need to talk. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Emma called Jake immediately. I told him I know about the affair. Emma, I specifically asked you not to do that. I had to. He said he was working late with Vanessa. But isn't she supposed to be meeting with your undercover officer? Shit, you're right. Let me find out what's happening and call you back. Emma hung up and walked to the window. The surveillance officers were still out there somewhere, invisible but present. 18 minutes later, Derek's car pulled into the driveway. Emma watched him sit in the car for a full minute before getting out. His shoulders were slumped, and he moved like a man walking to his execution. When he came through the front door, Derek looked older than he had that morning. Emma, sit down, Derek. They faced each other across the coffee table like strangers. Emma's 7-month belly was between them like a physical reminder of what was at stake. How long? Emma asked. 3 months. Is that the truth, or is that what you think I want to hear? Derek's face crumpled. 6 months. It started about 6 months ago. When you hired her. Yes. Do you love her? Derek looked at his hands. I thought I did. I don't know anymore. Derek, look at me. When he raised his eyes, Emma saw genuine anguish there. Did you know what she was planning? What do you mean, or Vanessa broke into our house? She destroyed the nursery. Derek's face went white. That's impossible. She hired someone to terrorize me. Derek, she wanted me to lose the baby. Emma, that's insane. Vanessa wouldn't do something like that. She's not violent. She paid someone $2,000 to scare the pregnant bitch into losing the baby. Those were her exact words. Derek stood up suddenly, his face a mask of confusion and horror. That can't be true. It is true. The police have her on tape. The police? Emma realized Derek had no idea how deep this went. The officer who responded to our break-in is Jake Morrison. Remember him from high school? He's been investigating this whole time. Derek sank back onto the couch. Jake Morrison, the kid who had a crush on you. This isn't about high school crushes. Derek, this is about your girlfriend trying to kill your wife and child. She wouldn't. Emma, I know Vanessa. She's ambitious and maybe a little jealous, but she's not a killer. Emma pulled out her phone and showed Derek the photos of his credit card statements. You've been living a double life for months. How well do you really know her? Derek stared at the images on the phone screen. How did you get these? I found them in your filing cabinet. Derek, there's an apartment lease. You've been paying for a place I didn't even know existed. Emma, I can explain all of this. Can you explain why your girlfriend hired a thug to break into our house? Can you explain why she wants me dead? Derek's phone buzzed with a text message. He glanced at it, and his face went even paler. What is it? Emma asked. Derek showed her the screen. A message from Vanessa. Where are you? We need to talk about Emma. Meet me at the usual place in an hour. Emma's phone rang. Jake's name appeared on the screen. Hello. Emma, we have a problem. Vanessa didn't show up for the meeting with Marcus. We think she suspects something. Emma looked at Derek, who was staring at his phone like it might explode. Jake, Derek just got a text from her. She wants to meet him in an hour. Do not let him go to that meeting. Why not? Because if Vanessa knows we're onto her, she might be desperate enough to do something dangerous. Emma realized Derek was listening to every word. Derek, she said slowly, you have to choose. Right now, your family or your mistress. Derek looked at Emma's face, then at her belly where their daughter was growing. What do you need me to do? Jake arrived at the house 20 minutes later with 2 other detectives and enough electronic equipment to stock a spy movie. Derek sat at the kitchen table looking like a man who had just watched his life implode. Mr. Davidson, I need you to understand that your cooperation could save your wife's life. Jake said as he attached a small device to Derek's shirt. Vanessa Torres is dangerous, and she's escalating. I still can't believe she would hurt Emma. When we're together, she talks about wanting a family someday. Detective Linda Hoffman, a stern woman in her 40s, looked up from her laptop. Mr. Davidson, your girlfriend paid a man to terrorize your pregnant wife. She's been planning your wife's murder. What part of that suggests she wants a family with you? Derek's face was gray. When you put it like that, the plan is simple, Jake explained. You're going to meet Vanessa as planned. You're going to tell her that Emma lost the baby from the stress and that you're leaving her. Emma felt sick. Why would you want him to say that? Because if Vanessa thinks her plan worked, she'll confess. People brag about their victories. Jake turned to Derek. When she starts talking about what she did, you need to keep her talking. Ask for details. Act impressed. The more she says, the stronger our case. Derek's hands were shaking as he reached for his car keys. What if she realizes I'm wearing a wire? She won't. She trusts you. In her mind, you're her co-conspirator, whether you realize it or not. Emma grabbed Derek's arm. What if she's armed? We'll have officers positioned around the entire area. If anything goes wrong, we'll move in immediately. The surveillance van was parked 3 blocks from the restaurant where Derek was meeting Vanessa. Emma sat between Jake and Detective Hoffman, headphones over her ears, listening to the wire Derek was wearing. The sound quality was crystal clear. Emma could hear Derek's breathing, his footsteps, the background noise of the restaurant. She's not here yet, Derek's voice came through the headphones. That's normal, Jake said into his radio. She's probably being cautious. 5 minutes later, they heard a woman's voice. Derek, sorry I'm late. Traffic was awful. Emma's blood ran cold. Vanessa Torres sounded young, confident, completely normal, like someone you'd trust to plan your vacation or recommend a good restaurant. No problem. I ordered you a wine. Thanks. You sounded upset on the phone. Is everything okay? There was a pause and Emma could hear Derek swallow hard. Emma lost the baby. Oh no, Derek, I'm so sorry. What happened? Vanessa's voice was perfectly sympathetic. If Emma hadn't known better, she would have believed the concern was genuine. The stress from the break-in? She started bleeding yesterday afternoon. We spent all night at the hospital. Emma gripped Jake's hand. Hearing Derek describe her imaginary loss in such detail was devastating, even though she knew it was necessary. That's terrible. How is she doing? Not good. She blames me for working so much, for not being there when she needed me. Derek, that's not your fault. Sometimes these things just happen. Emma felt rage building in her chest. Vanessa was comforting Derek about a tragedy she had caused. Actually, Derek continued, it made me realize something. What's that? Emma and I are over. We've been over for a long time. I just didn't want to admit it. Derek. Vanessa's voice was soft, seductive. I've been thinking about what you said, about us having a real future together. I want that more than anything. Then I need to know I can trust you completely. There was a pause. Emma held her breath. What do you mean? Emma thinks the break-in wasn't random. She thinks someone targeted our house specifically. Vanessa laughed, and the sound made Emma's skin crawl. That's ridiculous. She's looking for someone to blame for losing the baby. Is it ridiculous? Though I mean, whoever did it knew our house, knew our routine. They went straight to the nursery. Emma could hear Derek's heart beating through the wire. Derek, what are you trying to say? I'm saying that if someone I cared about arranged that break-in, I wouldn't be angry. I'd be impressed. The silence stretched so long that Emma thought the connection had been lost. Then Vanessa spoke, and her voice was completely different, colder, confident. Impressed by what? Exactly by how clever they were, by how they solved a problem that I didn't know how to solve myself. And what problem was that, Emma? The baby? The whole mess that was keeping us apart? Vanessa's laugh was different now, triumphant. You want to know if I arranged the break-in? I want to know if the woman I love is as smart as I think she is. Emma felt tears streaming down her face. Derek was a better actor than she'd given him credit for. Derek, you have to understand, I did it for us. Jake squeezed Emma's hand and spoke into his radio. We've got her. I found this guy who does things for people, scares people, sends messages. I paid him $2,000 to trash the nursery. I thought if Emma felt unsafe, if she was stressed enough, she'd lose the baby. I never said that specifically. I just thought the stress might solve our problem naturally. Emma was shaking with rage and revulsion. And it worked, Derek said. It worked. And Derek, when you're ready, we can have our own family, a planned family, not some accident that trapped you in a marriage you didn't want. What if it hadn't worked? What if Emma hadn't lost the baby? Vanessa's voice dropped to a whisper. Then we would have moved to Plan B, which was an accident and something that would have eliminated the problem permanently. Emma couldn't breathe. She was listening to a woman casually discuss murdering her and her unborn child. You would have killed her. I would have had it done. Derek, you have to understand. Emma was never going to just let you go. She would have used that baby to control you for the rest of your life. So you decided to eliminate her. I decided to give us a future. Jake was already speaking into his radio. Move in! Now! Through the headphones, Emma heard the chaos of the arrest. Shouting voices, chairs scraping, Vanessa screaming Derek's name. Derek, Derek! What did you do, Derek? Then Jake's voice came through clearly. Vanessa Torres, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, home invasion, and attempted assault on a pregnant woman. Emma pulled off the headphones and buried her face in her hands. It was over. 20 minutes later, Derek climbed into the surveillance van. His face was pale and his hands were still shaking. Emma, I had no idea. I swear to God, I had no idea what she was capable of. Emma looked at her husband, the father of her child, the man who had just helped catch his mistress planning her murder. I know, she said quietly. But Derek, that doesn't fix what you did. That doesn't fix us. Derek's face crumpled. Emma, please, we can work through this. No, Emma said, her voice stronger than she felt. We can't. You chose a psychopath over your family. The fact that she was a psychopath doesn't change the choice you made. Jake helped Emma out of the van and walked her to his patrol car. Are you okay? Emma looked back at Derek, who was sitting alone in the van with his head in his hands. I'm scared, but I'm okay. My baby is okay. That's what matters now. As they drove away, Emma placed both hands on her belly and felt her daughter's strong kicks. It's over, sweetheart. We're safe now. But even as she said the words, Emma knew that while the immediate danger had passed, her real battle was just beginning. The police station at 9 p.m. was a depressing place, all fluorescent lights and tired coffee. Emma sat in Detective Hoffman's office, giving her statement while Derek was being questioned in another room. Mrs. Davidson, I need you to understand that your husband's cooperation tonight probably saved your life, Detective Hoffman said gently. But we still need to determine the extent of his involvement in Vanessa Torres's plans. Derek didn't know what she was planning. I could hear it in his voice when he found out. People can be very good actors when their freedom is at stake. Emma's lawyer, Robert Mitchell, had arrived an hour ago and was reviewing paperwork. He was a kind man in his 50s who specialized in family law, and he'd been very clear about Emma's options. Emma, you don't have to make any decisions about your marriage tonight, but you should know that Derek is going to be charged as an accessory after the fact. What does that mean? It means that even though he didn't know about Vanessa's plan to hurt you, he was having an affair with her, giving her access to information about your life, and financially supporting her through the money he was spending on the secret apartment and credit cards. Emma felt exhausted. So he's going to jail? Probably not, if he continues to cooperate and testifies against Vanessa. He'll likely get probation and community service. But Emma, there's something else we discovered. Detective Hoffman opened a thick file. When we arrested Vanessa Torres, we found some disturbing information about her background. What kind of information? She's done this before. Different city, different name, but the same pattern. She targets married men, gets involved in their lives, and when the wife becomes a problem, Emma's stomach dropped. What happened to the other wife? Car accident. The woman was found at the bottom of a ravine after her brakes failed. It was ruled accidental, but now we're reopening the case. Emma felt like she couldn't breathe. She's killed someone before. We believe so. Emma, you're very lucky that Jake Morrison recognized the pattern and that we were able to intervene when we did. Jake appeared in the doorway. Emma, can I talk to you for a minute? They walked to a quiet corner of the police station, away from the chaos of phones and paperwork. How are you holding up? I don't know. An hour ago I was married to a man having an affair. Now I find out his mistress is a serial killer. She's in custody. She can't hurt you anymore. Emma looked through the window into the interrogation room where Derek was sitting with his lawyer. He looked broken. Jake, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you take such a personal interest in this case, I mean? I know we went to high school together, but you barely knew me then. Jake was quiet for a moment. Do you remember the chemistry class where we first met? Vaguely. You were lab partners with Jessica Chen. She was being bullied by some older kids, and you stood up for her. You made sure she was included, made sure she felt safe. Emma smiled slightly. I remember Jessica. She was sweet. You probably don't remember, but I was being bullied too. Different kids, same problem. And watching you protect Jessica made me realize that some people are worth protecting. Jake, I became a cop because I wanted to be the person who protects people like you. People who make the world safer for others. Emma felt tears threatening again. Thank you for everything. You don't need to thank me. Just promise me you'll take care of yourself and that baby. At midnight, Emma's mother Margaret picked her up from the police station. Derek was still being questioned, and Emma didn't know when she'd see him again. You can stay with me as long as you need, her mother said as they drove through the empty streets. Thanks, Mom. I don't think I can go back to that house yet. Of course not, sweetheart. That house has too many bad memories now. Emma's childhood bedroom had been converted into a guest room, but it still felt like coming home. Her mother brought her tea and sat on the edge of the bed. Emma, I have to ask, do you think Derek knew what that woman was planning? No, I really don't. But Mom, that almost makes it worse. What do you mean? If Derek had known, at least I could understand his choices. But he gave a dangerous woman access to our lives because he was thinking with his ego instead of his brain. Emma's mother squeezed her hand. What are you going to do? I don't know. I love Derek, or I love who I thought Derek was. But I don't know if I can ever trust him again. The next morning, Emma woke up to 17 missed calls from Derek and a dozen text messages begging her to call him back. Instead, she called Jake. How's Vanessa's interrogation going? She's not talking anymore. Lawyered up around 3 a.m., but we have enough evidence to charge her with conspiracy to commit murder, home invasion, and attempted extortion. What about the other case, the woman who died? We're coordinating with police in Phoenix. If we can connect Vanessa to that death, she's looking at life in prison. Emma felt a strange sense of relief. Vanessa Torres would never hurt another family. Jake, can I ask you for a favor? Anything. Derek's been calling and texting all morning. I'm not ready to talk to him yet. Can you let him know I'm safe, but that I need time? Of course, Emma. You should know that Derek's been asking about you constantly. He seems genuinely devastated about what happened. I'm sure he is, but being sorry doesn't undo the choices he made. That afternoon, Emma sat in her mother's garden, feeling the baby move and trying to process everything that had happened. In 48 hours, her entire life had been turned upside down. Her phone rang. Becca's name appeared on the screen. Emma, I heard about the arrest on the news. Are you okay? I'm alive. My baby's alive. I guess that's what matters. Where are you? I'll come over. An hour later, Becca was sitting beside Emma in the garden, holding her hand and listening to the whole story. Emma, I'm so sorry I was right about Derek. Are you sorry? Becca considered the question. I'm sorry you were hurt. I'm sorry you had to go through this terror. But I'm not sorry you found out the truth before something worse happened. Emma placed her hand on her belly. I keep thinking about what could have happened. If Jake hadn't been the responding officer, if Vanessa's plan had worked. But it didn't work. You're safe. The baby's safe. And that woman is in jail where she belongs. Becca, what would you do if you were me? You mean about Derek? Yeah. Becca was quiet for a long time. I think you already know what you're going to do. I think you just need time to be sure. That evening, Emma's lawyer called with an update. Derek was released this morning. He's been charged with accessory after the fact and financial fraud, but he's cooperating fully with the prosecution. What does that mean for me? It means you have options. You can file for divorce immediately, or you can wait to see how the criminal case plays out. Either way, you're going to be financially secure. I don't care about the money, Bob. I know you don't, but you're going to be a single mother, and Derek's going to owe you substantial support regardless of what happens to your marriage. After hanging up, Emma realized she'd been thinking of herself as a single mother for hours without even noticing. Maybe Becca was right. Maybe she already knew what she was going to do. That night, as Emma lay in her childhood bed listening to her daughter's movements, she felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Peace. For the first time since the break-in, she felt completely safe. Vanessa Torres was in jail. Derek was out of her house, and Emma was free to make choices based on what was best for her and her baby, not what was best for a marriage that had been built on lies. Emma placed both hands on her belly and spoke to her daughter. It's going to be just you and me for a while, sweetheart, but I think we're going to be okay. The baby kicked once, strong and sure, and Emma smiled in the darkness. 3 weeks later, Emma sat in the courthouse waiting room, 8 months pregnant and wearing the only professional dress that still fit. Today was Vanessa Torres' arraignment, and Emma was going to face the woman who had tried to destroy her family. Jake sat beside her, no longer in uniform but wearing a detective's badge and a concerned expression. You don't have to do this, Emma. Your victim impact statement can be read by the prosecutor. I want to do it. I want her to see what she tried to destroy. Derek was in the courthouse somewhere, but they hadn't spoken since the night of Vanessa's arrest. Emma's lawyer had handled all communication, and Derek had moved out of their house into a temporary apartment. Mrs. Davidson, a young prosecutor, approached them. I'm Assistant District Attorney Sarah Chen. We've spoken on the phone. Yes, thank you for preparing me for this. Are you ready? The judge is going to call your case in about 10 minutes. Emma nodded, though her heart was racing. She'd practiced what she wanted to say, but seeing Vanessa in person was going to be harder than she'd expected. The courtroom was smaller than Emma had imagined from watching television. Vanessa sat at the defendant's table with her lawyer, and when Emma entered, Vanessa turned to look at her. She was beautiful. That was Emma's first thought. Vanessa Torres was petite and elegant, with dark hair and striking features. She looked like someone who would organize charity events or teach preschool. She definitely didn't look like someone who hired thugs to terrorize pregnant women. When the judge called Emma to give her statement, she walked carefully to the podium, her hand on her belly for support. Your Honor, my name is Emma Davidson. 3 weeks ago, I was 7 months pregnant and preparing to welcome my first child. I thought the biggest challenge I faced was choosing between pink and yellow for the nursery. Emma looked directly at Vanessa, who was staring at her with cold, calculating eyes. On Sunday afternoon, I came home from my baby shower to find that someone had broken into my house and destroyed everything I had prepared for my daughter. The rocking chair where I planned to nurse her was overturned. The crib my husband had spent weeks assembling was broken. Tiny clothes I had folded with such love were scattered across the floor like garbage. Emma's voice grew stronger as she continued. I thought this was a random crime. I thought someone had chosen our house by chance. Or maybe they were looking for something to steal. I never imagined that someone had planned to terrorize me specifically, that someone wanted to frighten me so badly that I would lose my baby. Vanessa's expression hadn't changed, but Emma could see her lawyer trying to get her attention, probably telling her to look remorseful. When I learned that Derek was having an affair, I was devastated. When I learned that his mistress had hired someone to break into our home, I was terrified. But when I heard Vanessa Torres on tape, laughing about wanting me to lose my baby, planning my murder if the miscarriage didn't work, I realized I was dealing with something beyond normal human cruelty. Emma paused, feeling the baby kick. This woman didn't just want to steal my husband. She wanted to erase me and my child completely. She wanted to eliminate us like we were obstacles instead of human beings. Emma's voice broke slightly. I will never feel completely safe again. I will always wonder if every strange noise is someone coming to hurt my family. I will always have to explain to my daughter why we couldn't stay in the house where her nursery was supposed to be. Emma looked at the judge. But I want the court to know that Vanessa Torres didn't win. My daughter is healthy and strong. I am healthy and strong. And we're going to have a good life despite everything she tried to take from us. As Emma returned to her seat, she felt lighter than she had in weeks. She'd said what she needed to say, and Vanessa Torres had heard every word. The judge sentenced Vanessa to 15 years for conspiracy to commit murder, home invasion, and extortion. As the bailiff led her away, Vanessa turned to look at Emma one more time. Her expression was still cold, still calculating, and Emma realized that Vanessa felt no remorse at all. Even facing 15 years in prison, she saw Emma as the enemy. Outside the courthouse, Derek was waiting. "Emma, can we talk?" Emma looked at her estranged husband. He'd lost weight and looked older, but his eyes were hopeful. 5 minutes. They sat on a bench in the courthouse plaza. Derek's hands were shaking as he tried to find the right words. "I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. You're right. You don't. But I want you to know that I never ever would have let anyone hurt you or our baby. If I had known what Vanessa was capable of—" "Derek, stop!" Emma turned to face him fully. "The problem isn't that you didn't know what Vanessa was planning. The problem is that you made choices that put our family at risk. You lied to me for months. You gave a stranger access to our private life. You chose another woman over your pregnant wife." Derek's eyes filled with tears. "I made terrible mistakes. Yes, you did. And I can't forgive you for them. Emma, please, we can go to counseling. We can start over." Emma felt the baby kick hard, as if she was trying to get her mother's attention. "Derek, I want you to be a good father to our daughter. I want you to be involved in her life, to love her and support her. But I don't want to be married to you anymore." Derek's face crumpled. "Emma, the woman you fell in love with died in that destroyed nursery. I'm someone different now. Someone stronger. Someone who won't accept being treated like I'm disposable." Emma stood up carefully, her hand on her lower back. "I've filed for divorce. My lawyer will be in touch about custody arrangements." As she walked away, Derek called after her. "I love you, Emma. I'll always love you." Emma turned back one last time. "I know you do, but love isn't enough when trust is gone." That evening, Emma was in her new apartment, a 2-bedroom place near her mother's house, when she went into labor. Jake drove her to the hospital, staying calm while Emma gripped his hand through each contraction. "You're doing great," he said as they wheeled her into the delivery room. "She's going to be perfect." 6 hours later, Sophie Rose Davidson was born. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, with dark hair and Derek's blue eyes. Derek arrived at the hospital 20 minutes after Sophie was born, still wearing his work clothes and looking panicked. "Is she okay? Are you okay?" "We're fine," Emma said, holding their daughter. "She's perfect." Derek stood at the foot of the hospital bed, looking at his daughter with wonder and regret. "Can I hold her?" Emma nodded, and Derek took Sophie with shaking hands. "She's beautiful. She's so small. She's going to be strong," Emma said. "She's been through a lot already." Derek looked at Emma with tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry. For everything. I'm sorry I wasn't the husband you deserved. And I'm sorry I put you through this nightmare." "I know you are, Derek. And I forgive you for being human and making mistakes. But I can't forgive you for the choices you made." Derek nodded, understanding finally reaching his eyes. "I want to be the best father I can be to her." "Then be that. Show up for her. Be reliable. Be someone she can count on." As Derek held his daughter, Emma realized that while their marriage was over, they were going to be connected forever through Sophie. And maybe, with time and effort, they could build something better as co-parents than they'd ever had as spouses. Jake appeared in the doorway, holding flowers and wearing civilian clothes. "Congratulations," he said softly. "How's everyone doing?" "Perfect," Emma said. And for the first time in months, she meant it completely. 6 months after Sophie Rose was born, Emma stood in the nursery of her apartment, watching her daughter sleep. The room was nothing like the destroyed nursery in her old house. This one was painted a soft green, with white furniture Emma had chosen herself, and a mobile she'd made from felt stars and moons. It was smaller than the room Derek had prepared, but it was safe. It was theirs. Sophie stirred in her crib, making the little sounds that meant she'd be hungry soon. Emma marveled at how much her daughter had grown. 6 months old, sitting up on her own, reaching for everything with determined little hands. "Good morning, sweetheart," Emma whispered as Sophie opened her eyes. "Ready for breakfast." As Emma fed Sophie in the kitchen, she looked out the window at the tree-lined street. Mrs. Chen from across the hall was walking her dog. The mailman was making his rounds. Everything was peaceful and normal. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "Coffee later, I have news about the Phoenix case." Emma smiled and typed back, "Sophie and I will be at the park at 10. Meet us there." Over the past 6 months, Jake had become a regular part of their lives, not as anything romantic, but as a friend who understood what they'd been through. Someone who made Emma feel safe without making her feel dependent. The park was busy with morning joggers and dog walkers. Emma spread a blanket under a tree and let Sophie practice sitting, while Jake approached with 2 coffee cups and a serious expression. "Good news or bad news?" Emma asked as he sat down beside them. "Good news, the Phoenix police arrested Vanessa's accomplice in the other case. He confessed to tampering with the victim's car, and he implicated Vanessa in the murder." Emma felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. So she really did kill that other woman. Yeah, she did, which means she's going to spend the rest of her life in prison. Sophie babbled and reached for Jake's coffee cup. He moved it out of reach and handed her a set of keys to play with instead. "How does that make you feel?" Jake asked. Emma considered the question. "Relief, mostly, knowing she can never hurt another family, and grateful that we stopped her before she could finish what she started." "You stopped her. Emma, you trusted your instincts. You reached out for help, and you made the hard choices that saved your life." Emma picked up Sophie, who was getting fussy. "We all stopped her. You, Derek, me, even Sophie, in a way." "How did Sophie stop her?" "By being strong enough to survive everything Vanessa tried to do to us." Jake's radio crackled with a call, and he glanced at it apologetically. "I have to go. But Emma, there's something else I wanted to tell you." "What's that?" "I put in for a transfer to the Family Crimes Unit. If it goes through, I'll be working specifically on cases like yours. Domestic situations that escalate to violence." Emma smiled. "That's wonderful, Jake. You'll be good at it. I learned from the best case I ever worked." After Jake left, Emma pushed Sophie on the baby swings and thought about how different her life was from what she'd planned a year ago. She'd thought she'd be married, living in the house Derek had chosen, raising their daughter in the nursery he'd designed. Instead, she was divorced, living in an apartment she'd picked out herself, and raising Sophie as a single mother. And she was happier than she'd ever been. Derek came by every Tuesday and Saturday for his visitation. He was a good father, patient and attentive with Sophie. But he was also a stranger to Emma now, someone she'd once loved but no longer knew. "She's getting so big," Derek said that Saturday as he held Sophie on the living room floor. "Look at her trying to crawl. Dr. Martinez says she'll probably be mobile within the month." Derek's expression grew wistful. "I wish I could see all her firsts." "You see the ones that matter to you. That's what custody agreements are for." "Emma, I know we've talked about this before, but I have to ask, is there any chance we could try again? Go to counseling. Maybe take things slow." Emma looked at Derek holding their daughter, and she felt nothing but fondness for the father of her child and sadness for the man who had been her husband. "Derek, you're Sophie's father, and you always will be. But we're never going to be married again. Why not? I've learned from my mistakes. I'll never lie to you again." Emma sat down across from them. "Because I don't want to be. Derek, the woman you fell in love with 6 years ago needed you to make her feel complete. The woman I am now is complete on her own." Derek's face fell, but he nodded. "I understand. I don't like it, but I understand. I hope someday you'll find someone who makes you happy, someone who deserves the man you're capable of being. What about you? Do you think you'll ever want to get married again?" Emma looked at Sophie, who was chewing on Derek's fingers and making happy gurgling sounds. "Maybe someday, but not because I need someone to rescue me or complete me. If I ever get married again, it'll be because I choose to share my life with someone, not because I need them to give my life meaning." That evening, after Derek left, Emma gave Sophie a bath and read her 3 picture books. As she rocked her daughter to sleep, Emma sang the lullaby her own mother had sung to her. Sophie's eyes drifted closed, and Emma carefully placed her in the crib. Standing in the doorway, Emma looked around the nursery she'd created. It wasn't the room she'd originally planned, but it was perfect for them. Her phone rang softly. Jake's name appeared on the screen. "Hi," Emma answered quietly. "Sorry to call so late. I wanted to let you know I got the transfer. I'm officially joining the Family Crimes Unit next week. Congratulations, I'm really proud of you. Emma, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Would you ever consider having dinner with me, not as the cop who worked your case? Not as the guy from high school, but as Jake Morrison, who thinks Emma Davidson is the strongest person he's ever met." Emma smiled in the darkness of Sophie's nursery. "I'd like that, but you should know that I come as a package deal now. I wouldn't have it any other way." After they hung up, Emma walked through her apartment, checking locks and windows. But this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from the habit of a woman who took responsibility for her own safety. Front door, locked. Patio door, locked. Windows, locked. Everything was secure. Everything was as it should be. Emma looked in on Sophie one more time, then went to her own bedroom. On the nightstand was a framed photo of her holding Sophie in the hospital, both of them looking tired but triumphant. Next to it was a small card Jake had given her the day Vanessa was sentenced. It had a single line written in his careful handwriting: "The strongest people are forged in fires they never expected to survive." Emma turned off the light and settled into bed. Through the baby monitor, she could hear Sophie's steady breathing. 6 months ago, Emma had thought her life was over. Her marriage was destroyed, her safety was compromised, and her future was uncertain. Tonight, she knew that her real life was just beginning. 1 year after Sophie Rose was born, Emma stood in the kitchen of her apartment, making breakfast and listening to her daughter babble from her high chair. Sophie was walking now, 13 months old and fearless, with Derek's blue eyes and Emma's determined chin. "Mama, mama." Sophie banged her spoon against her tray and pointed at the window where birds were gathering at the feeder Emma had hung. "Yes, sweetheart. Birds. Can you say birds?" "Ba-ba." Emma laughed and kissed the top of Sophie's head. These quiet morning moments were her favorite time of day, before the rest of the world woke up, when it was just the two of them in their peaceful kitchen. The doorbell rang, and Emma glanced at the clock. 8:30 on a Saturday morning. Derek wasn't supposed to pick up Sophie until 10. Through the peephole, Emma saw a delivery man holding a large bouquet of flowers. "Emma Davidson." "Yes, delivery for you." The flowers were beautiful, white roses and baby's breath in a crystal vase. Emma opened the card with curious fingers. "Congratulations on your new job. You're going to change lives. Jake." Emma smiled and set the flowers on the kitchen counter where Sophie could see them but not reach them. On Monday, Emma would start her new position as a victim advocate with the county prosecutor's office. She'd spent the past 6 months taking night classes and working with other women who'd survived domestic violence and stalking cases. It had been Jake's idea, originally. "You have something most advocates don't have," he'd told her over dinner 3 months ago. "You've been where these women are. You understand what it feels like to have your life threatened by someone who was supposed to love you." Emma had resisted at first. She wanted to focus on Sophie, on building their new life, on moving forward instead of looking back. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that helping other women might be the best way to honor what she'd survived. Derek knocked on the door at exactly 10 a.m. He was always punctual now, always respectful of Emma's time and boundaries. "Morning, Em. How's our girl today?" "Busy. She's been practicing walking all morning." "So," Derek scooped Sophie up and spun her around, making her giggle. "Hey there, princess, ready to spend the day with Daddy?" Emma gathered Sophie's diaper bag and favorite stuffed elephant. She had breakfast, but she'll probably want a snack around 11:30, and she's been fighting her afternoon nap, so don't let her skip it or she'll be cranky tonight. "Got it." Derek paused at the door. Sophie balanced on his hip. "Emma, I heard about your new job. Congratulations." "Thank you. I'm proud of you. What you're doing, helping other women. It's important." Emma studied Derek's face. Over the past year, he'd changed. The arrogance was gone. replaced by something quieter and more genuine. He'd been going to therapy, had paid all his fines and completed his community service. Most importantly, he'd never missed a visitation with Sophie or been late with support payments. "I appreciate that, Derek. I know we can't go back," he said quietly. "But I want you to know that watching you rebuild your life, seeing how strong you've become, it's made me want to be a better person. You are a better person. You're a good father to Sophie." Derek's eyes grew misty. "She's the best thing I ever did right. She's pretty amazing." After Derek and Sophie left, Emma had the apartment to herself for the first time in weeks. She poured another cup of coffee and sat in the living room, looking around at the life she'd built. The furniture was modest but comfortable. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with child development texts, legal advocacy guides, and Sophie's growing collection of picture books. Photos covered another wall. Emma holding newborn Sophie, Sophie's first steps, Sophie and Derek at the zoo, Emma and Sophie at the beach with Becca, and newer photos. Emma and Jake at a police fundraiser. Emma receiving her victim advocacy certificate. Sophie playing in Jake's apartment while he cooked dinner for all three of them. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "How did the flowers look?" "Beautiful. Thank you." Sophie tried to eat one. "Of course she did. Dinner tomorrow to celebrate your last day of freedom before the new job." "Sophie and I would love that." Emma set down her phone and walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood was coming to life. Families were heading to the park. Couples were walking dogs. Kids were riding bikes on the sidewalk. It was an ordinary Saturday morning in an ordinary neighborhood. But for Emma, it represented something extraordinary. Safety, peace, the freedom to make choices based on what she wanted rather than what she feared. The doorbell rang again, and this time Emma saw Becca through the peephole, holding a bottle of champagne and wearing a huge grin. "It's 9:30 in the morning," Emma said as she opened the door. "So we're celebrating your new career. Besides, it's mimosa o'clock somewhere." They sat in Emma's kitchen, drinking orange juice with tiny amounts of champagne and talking about everything and nothing. Becca had been Emma's constant support through the divorce, the trial, and the long process of rebuilding. "I'm so proud of you," Becca said. "A year ago, you were terrified to be alone in your own house. Now you're about to become a professional badass who protects other women." "I don't know about badass." "Emma, you survived a murder plot, divorced your cheating husband, raised a baby on your own, went back to school, and landed your dream job. If that's not badass, I don't know what is." Emma laughed. "When you put it like that, and you're dating a good man who treats you like you hung the moon. Jake and I are taking things slowly." "Emma, it's been 6 months. How slowly can you take things?" Emma blushed. "We're being careful. I want to make sure Sophie's comfortable with him before we get too serious. Sophie adores Jake. She calls him Ake and runs to him every time she sees him. I know, but I also know what it's like to have your world turned upside down by trusting the wrong person. I won't put Sophie through that." Becca reached across the table and squeezed Emma's hand. "Jake isn't Derek. Jake has been nothing but honest with you from day one. I know that. In my head. I know that. But my heart is still learning to trust again. That's okay. Take all the time you need. Just don't let fear keep you from being happy." That evening, Emma picked up Sophie from Derek's apartment. Their daughter was exhausted and cranky, having clearly skipped her nap despite Emma's instructions. "She had a great day," Derek said as he handed over the diaper bag. "We went to the aquarium, then the playground, then ice cream." "Derek, she's 13 months old. That's too much stimulation for one day." I know. "I just want to pack as much fun as possible into our time together." Emma softened. She understood the impulse. Derek only got Sophie 2 days a week, and he wanted every moment to be special. "She doesn't need constant entertainment. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just read her a book or let her play quietly." "You're right. I'm still learning." As Emma buckled Sophie into her car seat, her daughter's eyes were already drooping. "Mama," Sophie said sleepily. "I'm here, baby. We're going home." By the time they reached the apartment, Sophie was fast asleep. Emma carried her inside and put her straight to bed, then collapsed on the couch with a cup of tea. Her phone rang. Jake's name appeared on the screen. "How was your last free Saturday?" he asked. "Relaxing. Becca came over for mimosas, and I spent the afternoon reading while Sophie napped. How was your day? Good. I finished the Morrison case files. Emma paused. Morrison, as in the real estate project Derek was working on the day we met. Turns out there was some fraud involved. Derek's former business partner was skimming money from investors. Is Derek in trouble? No, he was a victim too. Lost about $50,000 of his own money. But Emma, there's something else. What? The partner was being blackmailed by Vanessa Torres. Emma felt cold suddenly. What do you mean? She was extorting money from Derek's business partner, threatening to expose some financial irregularities if he didn't pay up. That's how she was funding her lifestyle, her plans, everything. Emma sank deeper into the couch. So Derek's affair, the money problems, all of it was connected to her criminal activities. It looks that way. Emma, Derek may have been unfaithful, but he was also being manipulated by a professional predator. After they hung up, Emma sat in her quiet living room, processing this new information. It didn't change what Derek had done, but it added another layer to an already complex situation. Vanessa Torres hadn't just targeted Derek for an affair. She'd targeted their entire family as part of some larger criminal enterprise. Emma walked to Sophie's room and looked at her sleeping daughter. Even in sleep, Sophie looked determined. Her little fist curled like she was ready to fight the world. "You're going to be so strong," Emma whispered. "Stronger than I ever was." The next morning, Emma dressed carefully for her dinner with Jake. A blue dress that brought out her eyes. Shoes she could actually walk in while chasing Sophie. Earrings her mother had given her for her birthday. She looked in the mirror and saw a woman she barely recognized from a year ago. The frightened, uncertain person was gone, replaced by someone confident and purposeful. Jake picked them up at 6, bringing flowers for Emma and a stuffed giraffe for Sophie. "Affam," Sophie shouted in which was her version of giraffe. "Close enough," Jake laughed, scooping her up. "Ready for dinner. Ladies?" They went to a family restaurant with a play area where Sophie could burn off energy between courses. Emma watched Jake help Sophie down the slide and push her on the tiny swings, marveling at how natural he was with her. "He's good with kids," the woman at the next table said to Emma. "Your husband seems really devoted to his daughter." Emma almost corrected her, but then decided it didn't matter what strangers assumed. "He is devoted to her," Emma agreed. During dinner, while Sophie practiced eating pasta with her fingers, Jake reached across the table and took Emma's hand. "I have something to tell you." Emma's heart skipped. Good something or bad something? Good something, great something. Actually, okay, I've been offered a position with the FBI, Family Crimes Task Force. It would mean traveling sometimes, but also working on cases that could help hundreds of families instead of dozens. Emma felt a complex mix of emotions: pride for Jake's accomplishment, excitement for his opportunity, and a selfish fear about what it meant for them. "Jake, that's incredible. When would you start?" "That's the thing. I haven't accepted yet." "Why not?" Jake looked at Sophie, who was attempting to feed pasta to her stuffed giraffe, then back at Emma. "Because I don't want to leave you, either of you." Emma felt tears threatening. "Jake, I know we've been taking things slowly. I know you need time to trust again. But Emma, I love you. I love Sophie. I love the life we're building together." "I love you too." The words came out before Emma could stop them, and she realized they were completely true. "You do. I do. I love your kindness, your integrity, your patience with both of us. I love how you make me feel safe without making me feel weak." Jake's face lit up. "So what do we do about the FBI offer?" Emma thought about it for a moment, looking at this man who had saved her life and then waited patiently for her to save herself. "You take it. We'll figure out how to make it work." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure, Jake. You're going to help so many families. You're going to be the person for them that you were for us." Jake stood up and walked around the table, kneeling beside Emma's chair. "Emma Davidson, will you marry me?" Emma's hands flew to her mouth. "Are you serious?" "I've been carrying this ring around for 2 months, waiting for the right moment." He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it to reveal a simple, elegant diamond ring. "I don't need an answer tonight. I know you need time to think about it, but I want you to know that I'm not going anywhere. FBI or no FBI, you and Sophie are my family now." Emma looked at the ring, then at Jake, then at Sophie, who was clapping her hands like she understood what was happening. Yes, 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 I'll marry you, but not because I need you to rescue me or complete me. Why then? Emma smiled through her tears. Because I want to share my life with you. Because I want Sophie to grow up seeing what real love looks like. Because I finally understand the difference between needing someone and choosing someone. Jake slipped the ring onto Emma's finger as Sophie squealed with delight. Mama Ake. That's right, sweetheart. Jake is going to be part of our family. As they drove home that evening, Sophie fell asleep in her car seat, exhausted from the excitement. Emma held Jake's hand and watched the familiar streets of their neighborhood pass by. I have one condition, she said quietly. Anything. When we get married, I want to keep my name. I want to stay Emma Davidson. Tonight, why? Emma thought about the woman she'd been and the woman she'd become. Because Emma Davidson is who I chose to be. She's the person who survived, who rebuilt, who learned to be strong on her own. I don't want to lose her. I wouldn't want you to. That night, after Sophie was settled in her crib, Emma and Jake sat on the couch in her living room, planning their future. Small wedding, Emma said. Just family and close friends. Whatever you want. And I want to wait until after I've been at the new job for a few months. I want to establish myself professionally before I take on being a wife again. That makes sense. Emma looked at her engagement ring, simple and perfect on her finger. Jake, are you sure you want this being an instant stepfather? Dealing with Derek's custody schedule? Marrying a woman who comes with so much baggage? Jake pulled her closer and kissed her forehead. Emma, you don't have baggage. You have a history that made you who you are. And who you are is exactly who I want to spend my life with. Emma curled against Jake's side and felt something she'd never experienced in her marriage to Derek. Complete peace. She wasn't afraid of making the wrong choice because she trusted herself now. She wasn't afraid of being hurt because she knew she could survive anything. She wasn't afraid of the future because she was building it on her own terms. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. Both of you. Emma closed her eyes and listened to the sounds of her home. Sophie's steady breathing through the baby monitor. Jake's heartbeat under her ear. The quiet hum of the dishwasher finishing its cycle. A year ago, Emma had thought her life was ending. Tonight, she knew it was just beginning. The woman who had checked locks obsessively out of fear was gone. In her place was a woman who checked them once, confidently, because she was responsible for her own safety. The woman who had needed Derek to feel complete was gone. In her place was a woman who chose Jake because she wanted to share her completeness with him. The woman who had been a victim was gone. In her place was a woman who would spend her career helping other victims become survivors. Emma Davidson had been forged in a fire she never expected to survive, and she had emerged transformed. As she drifted off to sleep in Jake's arms, Emma whispered a promise to her daughter sleeping peacefully in the next room. You're going to grow up knowing that you are enough, exactly as you are. You're going to know that love doesn't hurt, that partners don't lie, that marriage is a choice you make every day, not a prison you're trapped in. Sophie stirred slightly in her sleep, as if she heard and understood. Emma smiled in the darkness. Her daughter would never have to learn these lessons the hard way, because Emma had learned them for both of them. If you want to discover who was behind this terrifying plot and how Emma found the courage to fight back, hit that like button right now and let me know in the comments. Have you ever had that gut feeling that something was wrong, even when everything seemed perfect? Don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell, because stories like Emma's remind us that truth really is stranger than fiction.